Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Emmy the Cat Lady, and you join me here, back in the Capital Wasteland. So we're continuing our tour of the DC ruins. So we're here at Falls Church Metro. So it's located here on the western side of the river, near Grey Ditch, which is up there. Arlington, where we were before. And also the Mason District area as well. So you can access it only via the metro tunnels, so you can use the Falls Church Mason District tunnel, the Arlington to Falls Church tunnel, or Marigold Station from Grey Ditch. All those tunnels will lead you to this area. When you first get here, there's 3 big office buildings that we want to look at. But when you first arrive, you'll generally see a battle going on between some super mutants and some Brotherhood of Steel guys. Because there is a big super mutant camp here. There is a quest where you can rescue one of the Brotherhood people from one of the office buildings where the super mutants took them, but if you come here and you don't really engage with that and then you come back later, then it's easy to miss that quest because the Brotherhood are usually dead and you can't get the quest unless you use console commands to kind of resurrect everybody, and then you can do it. So it's a quest that's easy missed, and I did in this save file because I kind of ended up here by accident and didn't really realise. So yeah, you can see the Paladin host. So he's the guy that gives you the quest, and unfortunately he can't ask me to do anything because he doesn't have a head anymore. So that's kind of unfortunate. But there's some big office buildings in this area that are very, very interesting to have a look at. So clearly this was a location for a lot of kind of large businesses and whatnot. Also a coffee shop. I don't know if you can go into that, I don't think so. So the one we're interested in today is called L.O.B. Industries. So I'm going to see if I can find where it is. Because it's got an awful lot of very interesting things inside it, but there is super mutants everywhere you look. But I've got my handy Tesla cannon. He's also pointing an invisible gun. Not really going to help you out there, buddy, but never mind. Right, here it is. I found out it's up in the kind of north side of the area, so yeah, nearest place is the there's a metro station somewhere just there, or access to it. But here we go, L.O.B. Industries. Even has the address there. So let's head on inside. Because this is one. So this is the only location we're doing in this video because it's quite a big one. There's a lot to unpack. Oh, we've got. Where's the radio?
Here's the latest news. Unemployment is down, stocks are up, and the UN has just declared global peace forever.
Yep. Sorry, need to shut three dog up. Don't really want to talk to him. So yeah, there is robots in here. That's the only threat inside this place. Because my character's quite a high level, it tends to be a lot of sentry bots, but we've got the Tesla cannon, so we're going to be fine. So welcome to L.O.B. Enterprises. I think I called it Industries earlier, but it's Enterprises. So this company is a pre-war weapons manufacturer tied to the People's Republic of China. So yeah, and they were working on a project called Project Zhurong. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. Mandarin isn't a language that I really know a lot about, but it sounds like a gutsy. So there's a project called Project Zhurong, and they're making an incendiary sidearm, which we can find in this very building. But we're going to start here at the reception desk, because that's going to give us a wee bit of insight into what exactly happened with this company. So there's some very interesting things going on in this place. So this is Ms. Waring's terminal. So we've got some memos and things like that. So let's have a wee look. So all personnel emergency protocols. So weapons policy H31. As standard policy, all employees are required to carry low-grade military-class weaponry at all times. See HR policy A12. In the event of a hostile takeover, your desk can be used as a makeshift barricade. Position the desk between yourself and your opponent, then crouch behind the desk while firing any weapon approved on Form B43-2. No, cafeteria privileges will be suspended in the event of a hostile takeover. Yep, and then we've got an email weapon practice tonight from Derek McCoy. If anyone would like to practice with their low-grade military class company issue, Sam and I will be shooting rounds off in the yard at 7 p.m. BYOB. So yeah, we're gonna have a weapon practice party. That sounds nice and safe. And then sent item, man the doors from Joanna Waring, which is the receptionist. Something, presumably the F word, who knows. They're here, man the doors, the feds are here. So yeah, they're in a bit of trouble. And then we've got another memo to everybody from the Director of HR, caps and emails. I would like to remind everyone that despite the impending federal invasion, standard company policy is still in effect. Specifically, do not write emails in all caps. This style is offensive to your co-workers. Thank you for your cooperation. So yeah, it seems that the feds were on to them. They were importing products from Happy Liberty Imports, which is a Chinese front. So employees were instructed to carry weapons and to practice using them so that when they were invaded, they could protect themselves. And of course, being invaded by the feds is not an excuse to send emails in all caps. Don't do that. Caps lock abuse is a thing. Which is quite funny. And then the note about how cafeteria and lunch breaks privileges will be lost in the event of an invasion. So, fair enough. So what that means is that the... Oh, there he is. I knew I could hear a gutsy. Goodbye. Yes, she did. Well done. So yeah, basically they were having some problems, and because the federal government invaded, or the whoever it was, we've got US military robots kicking around. But there were some other problems in the place to keep in mind. You know, it wasn't just about the impending federal invasion. Somebody's been drinking whiskey in the bathroom. Goodbye.
Medals upon my chest.
You could just make magnetic medals for you if you want. That would make more sense. Here we go. This is kind of a office space, so hopefully we'll find stuff. So there is quite a bit of loot, which we'll talk about later, but there is a quantum in this office room, but I'm looking for one particular terminal. I still haven't found the terminal I'm looking for, but down here in the sort of lower floor of the archives, there's a terminal here. We also have a Chinese Army Spec Ops training manual. So that's good. But yeah, the specific terminal I am looking for, I am struggling to find. I love the Tesla cannon. I know I say that every time, but I really do. It's great. What's this? Break room. So yeah, a bunch of people here. So one of the things that's quite obvious as you explore this area is that the people that worked here, presumably most of them were here when the bombs fell, and most of them died in their workplace, which is kind of sad. But finally found it. It was in the main kind of office area all along, but it seems for some reason this one has the I'm broken and not working model, so that's why I couldn't see it. But I finally found the terminal I'm looking for. So this is Sam Johnson's terminal, and unfortunately there were other issues to contend with for the people that worked here, aside from secret weapon projects and the feds, and it is actually that Mr. Johnson was being a bit of a creep at work. So he has had a reminder put on his terminal. Welcome, Mr. Johnson. Please refrain from making inappropriate comments and actions towards the female employees. As is company policy, this reminder will remain on screen for as long as human resources deems necessary. So, yeah, HR had some complaints about this guy and put a reminder on his terminal to stop being a creep. So, I wonder if that actually worked. So a lot of the kind of memos and stuff are the same. The emergency protocols. This is really annoying because it takes up so much of the screen. But the relevant one is the sexual harassment charge. So from the Director of HR to Samuel Johnson, I would like to remind you that company policy forbids any form of harassment between employees, sexual or otherwise. Specifically, you will refrain from greeting any female employee with the phrase, "Hey doll, want to see if this is a grenade in my pocket or if I'm just happy to see you." This statement is not only offensive and inappropriate, but could be considered a misuse of company issued grenades. See Form B43. So, yeah, ew, don't like that. That's very creepy. But clearly, they had a bunch of policies for their staff to respond to situations that would arise. So, next up, we're going to have a look at the security operations terminal. So, I will bring you back when I find it again. Here we go. So we're now back in the east wing because there's three separate sections to this building. You've got the main area where the reception and stuff is, the east wing here, and the archives, which is kind of downstairs as well. So security operations terminal is being manned by Mr. Teddy here. So we're going to take a little look at that. So security system login. So we've got a bunch of things we can do with the turrets. No source. Okay. Oh, we've got some images and stuff that we can't find. But we do have a save memo. Attention, security captain, Mr. Humber. I am informed that federal investigators are interrogating Mr. Johansson in the main lobby. Please enact Security Protocol C6-88 as outlined in your Security Handbook Addendum 4. And then we've got some company policies, which are quite interesting. So we've got an internal memorandum. Due to the increased awareness of our upcoming project milestone, you and your fellow employees may be required to initiate emergency defensive procedures as outlined in the employee handbook. If required, please review policies H31, L04, L05, P55 and T01. Your continued adherence to company policy is appreciated. So that's nice. And then we've got some of these ones here. So the weapons policy, which we have seen before, about hiding behind your desk and using a low-grade military class weapon and having it with you at all times, and that cafeteria privileges will be suspended in the event of a hostile takeover. And then the evacuation policy. In the event of emergency evacuation scenario F1A, all executive staff not under penalty are to be evacuated from the building via the archives and connected civic tunnels. All other personnel will remain behind to safeguard active projects from imminent federal inquiry. All employees are tasked with barricading the main doors and will be further tasked with keeping the building secured until 5 p.m. or until the Chief of Security enacts Protocol T81. The usual lunch break will be suspended for that day. And then finally, the inclement weather policy, which is my favourite one. In the event of extreme winter, nuclear, let's not wish for that, conditions, all employees are required to proceed to Human Resources and complete Forms D87A, D87B, H4-1 and A14-3, Addendum 7, in accordance with Company Policy L83. Employees will be issued with iodine tablets, personal Geiger counter, meal rations, and sworn into the sovereign L.O.B. Republic. So that's fun. So obviously the most important part of all of that is that cafeteria privileges and lunch breaks will be suspended if something happens, which is an absolute travesty, of course. And in the event of a nuclear winter, which we're not going to wish for that, all employees get iodine tablets, the Geiger counter, food, and citizenship of the L.O.B. Republic. So clearly this company intended to start their own nation in the event of nuclear war. The iodine tablets are interesting because they don't get mentioned very much in the context of Fallout, and kind of feel like they probably should be mentioned more. Because they are an important thing for protecting against radiation. They protect your thyroid gland from the effects of radiation. Thyroid gland, which is in your neck, it sits just under your larynx, is an organ that produces thyroid hormones that regulate things like metabolism, hair growth, and a number of other things. And it is a gland that's very sensitive to radiation, which can make it give it a high chance of developing cancer, so a thyroid carcinoma. And taking iodine tablets basically stops your thyroid from absorbing radioactive isotopes of iodine, since the only function that the element of iodine actually has in the body is in the production of your thyroid hormones, which are typically known as T3 and T4. They do have more complicated names, but T3 and T4 is a lot easier to say. That's the only function of iodine in the body, is to make thyroid hormones. There's no other organ system, no other metabolism that uses it. So there's different isotopes of iodine, and the isotope I-129 is the one that comes from nuclear processes like explosions. But there are other isotopes that can be used for medical purposes. So I-131 is used for treating hyperthyroidism in both people and in cats. Cats are extremely prone to hyperthyroidism, so that's what's called an overactive thyroid. And also thyroid cancer, so thyroid carcinoma, again in humans, also in cats, although thyroid cancer is quite rare. It's usually a benign, what's called an adenoma in cats that basically just sits and produces too much thyroid hormones. But you do rarely see it in cats, but you do see it in people as well. So I-131 can be used to treat cancer and to treat hyperthyroidism. And the important thing about the radioactive effects and why I-131 is useful for this, whereas I-129 wouldn't be, is to do with the half-life. So any radioactive element has a half-life, which is the amount of time it takes for half of its mass to degrade and produce and release its radiation and then stabilize. And that means that's how long it continues to produce radiation for, essentially, that's the way it's measured. So I-131 has a half-life of 8 days. I-129 has a half-life of 1.57 million years. So just a wee bit different. So that is fun. So that's why the iodine tablets are included. That is absolutely something that is done in cases of radiation protection. And as well, I know when I was working as a vet, we would try and avoid holding animals for x-rays where possible, for our safety, but in the occasions where it was necessary, if the animal was too sick to be sedated or whatever the reason was, then we would wear a sort of lead gown and also a little kind of collar thing that you'd strap on that protected your thyroid, because your thyroid is so sensitive to the effects of radiation, and thyroid cancer is very serious. So it's very, very important. Now, the next thing we want to find is their R&D terminal. Right, so I'm taking this key because I think it might help me navigate this place a bit better. So this, you can walk around the broken floor to get into here, which is the CEO's desk and terminal. You can pick the lock. It's hard, but it's very hard locked. So there's a key in his desk, which we're going to use because that should let me get into where the R&D terminal is supposed to be, somewhere. I think I finally found it. Yes. Okay, it's also very hard locked, but that's fine. We can handle that. We can handle that. Let's see. I'm assuming most people that have played Fallout know how this little minigame works. Okay, so purification. So any of the ones that end in shun are not correct. That rules out quite a lot of them. Disappearing is 3 correct. So is there any more that end in ing? There's recuperating. Nope. Conspirators is a wee bit closer. There we go. Yeah, so the higher the difficulty, the longer the words are as well. But if you've got the little closed brackets on the same line, then they take away ones that are wrong and replenish your allowance if you didn't know how that worked. But yeah, so we want to have a look at the lab stuff. This is quite funny. So this is for the project for the incendiary sidearm. So prototype ZRIN363. Experimental prototype makes extensive use of hardware common to liquid ammunition flame projection weapons, so flamethrowers. Well, initial test results were impressive. Extreme weight of unit, which is 118.3 kilograms, and fume inhalation rendered most test subjects incapable of firing the unit or remaining conscious under typical field conditions. So clearly didn't work very well. But the fumes were such that people were basically getting knocked out. And also 118.3 kilograms is a lot. That works out at £260 in freedom units, if you prefer that. My brain works in kilograms because those charts for animals work in kilograms, and that's how I would weigh animals, was grams for the tiny ones and kilograms for the bigger ones. But a lot of people would ask me what their dog weighed in pounds, so I learned to convert it really easily. So it's £260 or 118.3 kilograms, which is an entire person with a high BMI. That's not that's quite a lot of weight for something that's supposed to be a sidearm. But yeah, let's have a look at the next one anyway. The next prototype we've got. So introduces proprietary ammunition type conventional 10mm shells house a caplet containing amalgamating agents. When the caplet was broken in lab tests, localized fire burst and shrapnel projection met requirements for project. However, in field tests, amalgam caplet ammunition proved too fragile and several detonated from excessive vibration or warp speed. So it basically kind of worked like mini Molotovs, but they broke too easily, and I'm assuming that several pairs of pants caught fire. So yeah, not great. And then the next one, attempting to refine results of Acumus coating within weapon barrel. Initial tests showed promise. As predicted, delivery friction superheats projectile as it is delivered from the weapon, and conventional 10mm ammunition can be used. However, during live fire testing, subjects firing the weapon in rapid succession suffered severe burns to the fingers and palms. So they had something where it used the friction of the projectile moving through the barrel to set it on fire, basically. But it was also making the gun heat up and burning people, so not really helpful. And then the final prototype here. Refines Acumus barrel experiments by addition of retardant jacketing as well as internal heat diffusers. Rate of fire diminished from unmodified version of weapon. Conventional 10mm ammunition does not fully liquefy until impact, giving the 418 exceptional accuracy compared to earlier prototypes. Live fire tests report no major casualties. Recommend this one as a production candidate. So they finally got the prototype that did what they wanted to without harming the person holding the weapon. So that is great. And then we've got the company policies. They're all the same ones that we've read already. So yeah, they actually managed to make this particular weapon that they had been looking for all this time. So now if we find our way back to the boss man's office, so yep, CEO. Close that door over. Presumably this is the CEO. And he's got his first aid box and things, and then we've got his terminal. So we'll have a wee look at that. So the only thing of interest here is this invoice from Happy Liberty Imports. Invoice HP 4110C, US flag ZRIN 418, paperweight lead 450, and a throw rug retardant 1. So presumably that means it's a fire retardant throw rug, which kind of makes sense. And then there is just the normal. Oh, press the wrong button there. The company policy memos that presumably they just get sent to basically everybody. There is also tumblers today on the desk. We've got some ammo and sorry sir. Grenade boxes and all the rest of it, but the thing that we're really interested in is the briefcase here. So we have the key from his desk, and then it is the Zhurong 418 Chinese pistol. So this is the weapon that we were talking about that they've been made. So it's a unique variant of the Chinese pistol that adds -2 hit points per second for 5 seconds due to the fiery effect. So it does incendiary damage. It also has a very long range compared to most of the other incendiary weapons that you can find in the game. So it does actually have quite good range. It still does only the kind of basic damage that the Chinese pistol does. It's not much better than that, but it adds the fiery damage. So that's really cool. So grab that. Oh, there we go. So that's the weapon in question. So, you know, it's not something that's going to make or break the game for you, but it's nice to have. You know, you get lots of I think it's fun to collect all the unique weapons. So there we go. But yeah, it does just look like the Chinese pistol. There is also a cut terminal that wasn't added into the game that I think is a wee bit interesting. It gives us a wee bit more context for the issue with Mr. Johnson and his harassment case. So the terminal would have belonged to a woman called Jean McAndrews, which is a good Scottish sounding name there. And she sends an email basically saying that she's quite happy to carry a gun and she's shot people for the sake of the project, but she is not here to be hit on by Sam Johnson. So there's an email that she sent to HR, which I'll quote here. It is on the wiki as well. So subject is hostile workplace. And she says, look, I agreed to sign on to this project. I agreed to carry a gun for this project. And damn it, I've shot people for this project. But I never agreed to go out with Sam Johnson. Ever since the company started handing out the emergency defence supplies, that jackass has repeatedly attacked me and the other female staff with cheap lines and come-ons. If you expect us to get this project done, then stop Sam from talking about the grenade in his pocket, or I'm out of here along with the entire female staff. You know what, I've dealt with my fair share of creepers. Fair enough, I think. I've dealt with creepy men in my time. I think most women have. At some stage, less so now because I barely leave the house due to health problems, which is nice. But, you know, it's something that's happened, and I'm just like, you know what, good for her for actually calling him out and reporting him to HR, because there's just no need for that kind of carry on. And she really doesn't like this guy, because there's another email. So we did see the email from Derek McCoy about people joining them outside for weapons practice. And she replies to that email saying, "Sure, I'll definitely be there. I wouldn't miss a chance to have my weapon accidentally discharged and hit that grenade in Sam's pocket." So I kind of love that for her. So it's all the people we can learn about that used to live, well, work here, and from the skeletons that you can find dotted about the place, it's safe to assume that most of the employees also died here, whether that was because of the robots, whether that was the bombs falling, or we don't really know, but there's a lot of skeletons about. And most of them seem to have been here and died when the bombs fell, in the aftermath, or maybe just before when the robots invaded. It's not clear. Another fun fact about this location is that it boasts the most vacuum cleaners of any single location in Fallout 3. There is a total of 15 and spread out across the different areas. Maybe that's to clean up all the ash from their fiery experiments with their birdie pistol that they were doing. I don't know. And it wouldn't be a hidden Fallout 3 location without a handful of interesting items to loot. So there's a pugilism illustrated in a storeroom next to a lunchbox. We saw the Nuka Cola Quantum earlier in the big office. There is two pre-war books kicking about here. You'll find a stealth boy somewhere. Some 10mm rounds, and we got the tumblers today in the CEO's office. And there's also a mini nuke in his bathroom, I believe. There's supposed to be. Maybe it fell through the ceiling or I've already picked up. I don't know. But yes, there's that. We got the Chinese Army Spec Ops training manual and another stealth boy there. So, quite a lot of useful loot, as well as, a lot of the skeletons do have ammo next to them or weapons next to them, because obviously all employees were required to carry pistols of some kind and be armed at all times. There's a laser pistol in the cupboard there. So you can find quite a lot of loot, weapons. You can get a lot of good stuff off the sentry bots as well. So it's a really good place for looting, as well as finding some very interesting stories in the background. So quite a big place. I say I've cut out a lot of me getting completely lost while trying to find one specific terminal, because it's quite a big place. And it's not the easiest to navigate. Obviously, like a lot of places in Fallout 3, doorways are blocked off with rubble and there's holes in the floor and all that kind of stuff. So it's not the easiest to navigate, but it's definitely worth your time. Because there's a lot of good stuff to find in here, and we've got a fun little story. It's really quite interesting to see what this company did, and obviously you're getting a unique weapon out of it as well. So if you are somebody that likes to collect all the unique weapons, then definitely come to this place. I only even learned of its existence recently. I've never actually been in here before in any of my normal games, and that's what's so fun about making these videos, is that I'm getting to dig into places that I've missed, and maybe sharing places that you guys haven't seen, just to show that, I mean, don't get me wrong, Fallout 3, the main story is flawed, as I have said in my video essay on the topic, but the wasteland and the way the wasteland is laid out and everything, I think is really, really good, and it's really interesting. Yes, the metro tunnels get a bit tedious and they're not the easiest thing to navigate, but it does allow for things like this and all these little hidden gems, and sort of unique weapons and things to be tucked away in a hard to find place, so that it does reward you for actually getting out there and exploring and looking and going places just to see what's there. And that's what I really love about this, and that's what I love about Fallout 3, is that you've got the freedom. You can take things at your own pace, and you can go and you can find a building that you can go into, and you just don't know what you're going to find when you get in there. And actually, this area, there is two other office buildings that we still have to look at, so that'll be the topic for next week, because this one was big enough and complicated enough that I think it's enough, more than enough for one video. So I think that's fair enough. And then next week we'll look at the other 2 office buildings that are in the Falls Church area. So hopefully you'll come back for that. Saturday we're going to be continuing the Fallout ecology, and we're going to be talking about water in Fallout 3. Obviously a very significant and important topic, given that it's at the core of the main story as well. So we'll be getting into the details of that. So hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you been to this place in Fallout 3 in your playthroughs? What did you find? The you know, let me know, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.